Hello everyone, this is Joshua Smith of Apollo's Artifacts, and welcome to 2022. Now, I don't know if you all know this or not, but they do end-of-the-year surveys, and the results from the last 2 years, from 2020 and 2021, both show that a majority of people say that each one was the worst year of their entire lives. And what a miserable, sad, and depressing thing that is. Hopefully 2022 will come out a bit better. Anyway, I'm going to jump right in here to this article. FBI declassifies files on the CIA's involvement in satanic ritual abuse, or SRA, and child sex trafficking. Regular followers of my show know that I have covered these issues in depth. So far, I've already covered things related to Ted Gunderson's work, so I'll just have this link below and you can check it out for yourself. But let's just say that there's a substantive amount of material that supports these positions. And over here on humansarefree.com, they actually have the links to the declassified material so that you can download those and read them for yourself. And there are many surprising things to be found in there. Next up here from the Gateway Pundit, we have liberal, which I really hate the use of that term when it actually just means leftist. Liberal is very different than leftist. Anyway, leftist California lost the most population of any state in 2021. New York was second and Illinois third. Not Illinois. And here is an impressive chart that shows which states were receiving new population and which states were actually losing the most. And you can see hundreds of thousands of people have escaped the northern and far left blue cities and the hellscapes that are the victims of Democrats. And you can see here that my state is 6th on the list. But the main fear I think that all of us have here who actually love where we live in these southern states and the red states, red cities, so on and so forth, is that these leftists, of course, don't bring their leftist politics with them and then proceed to destroy them as they've destroyed all these other places. Here from the New York Post, I have this: inside China's terrifying brain control weapons capable of paralyzing enemies. It begins here. China is developing terrifying brain control weapons which could be used to paralyze and control its enemies and its own people, a report says. Washington has reportedly sanctioned Beijing's Academy of Military Medical Sciences and 11 other research firms for using biotechnology. And how much of this biotechnology do you think they were getting from Dr. Lieberman, who recently pled guilty to supplying the Chinese with information from Harvard University in exchange for hundreds of thousands of dollars, because this is precisely the kinds of things that he was working on. The government department did not go into detail about the sinister weapons. However, 2019 military documents seen by the news outlet did offer some insight. China wants to paralyze and control the opponent by attacking the enemy's will to resist, the report says. And as I move down a bit here towards the end of the article, it says this: in 2019, a mind-reading computer chip was revealed at the World Intelligence Congress in China. The breakthrough device is called a brain talker and allows a person to control a computer with just their brain waves. It is not implicitly stated how the brain chip will be worn, but most BCIs are currently worn outside of the body and not actually inside a user's brain. However, I'm sure that is the next stage of development. In related news, I move over to the Daily Mail. China mines social media sites, including Twitter and Facebook, to equip its military and government agencies with data on Western targets, bidding documents reveal. China is mining social media sites to harvest data on foreign targets to be used by its military, police, and other agencies. Bidding documents and contracts are reviewed by the Washington Post, which means the CIA revealed costly purchases of sophisticated data surveillance systems. The new software will allow the Chinese state to better understand the underground network of anti-China personnel. That means not just in China, but around the world. I move from there to natural news. Experts warn that UN failure to ban slaughter bots could spell the end of humanity. This article begins: experts in military strategy and artificial intelligence are raising the alarm after a UN conference did not reach an agreement on banning the use of so-called slaughter bots at a recent meeting in Geneva. Slaughter bots is the name that has been given to weapons that can select and apply force to targets without using any human intervention. These weapons make their decisions using a series of algorithms in artificial intelligence software, which of course are all programmed by humans first of all. Capable of hunting and striking targets without any input from controllers, their technology is growing so fast that many fierce societies and governments have not taken the time to fully consider the dangers. This year, for the first time, most of the 125 nations in the UN Convention on Certain Conventional Weapons called for new laws governing the killer robots. However, some countries oppose the measure, such as the US and Russia, both of whom are known to be working on developing such weapons. Other nations that objected included India, Australia, and the UK, with some arguing that continuing the development of these killer robots is vital to avoid having a strategic disadvantage. Because, of course, we all know that China and the rest of these will not abide by such rules or restrictions anyway, just as they have not and do not on biowarfare research. Some of the other dangers of this, as it points out below, is that these weapons could be easy for anyone else to obtain. It says here that they could be fairly inexpensive, easy to mass produce, and can be equipped with guns. Some experts have warned that this accessibility means that gangs and other criminals could try to use them. MIT professor Max Tegmark believes we are headed for the worst possible outcome. He said that's going to be the weapon of choice for basically anyone who wants to kill anyone. A slaughterbot would basically be able to anonymously assassinate anybody who's pissed off anybody. Even worse than that, McAllister College professor James Dawes has said, "It is a world where the sort of unavoidable algorithmic errors that plague even tech giants like Amazon and Google can now lead to the elimination of whole cities." And this is just one of a whole litany of dangers that come along with artificial intelligence research. Here I move to Zero Hedge. I'm not effing around. Pickaxe-wielding woman robs LA Rite Aid. And of course, even if they caught her, I'm sure nothing would happen. They would just release her. Apparently, she threatened to knock people out, I guess potentially killing them, of course, with a pickaxe. But that's one of the many reasons why you see so many people abandoning the big blue cities now. Here we find that a woke professor claims that the hugely popular John Madden NFL games, quote, dehumanized black athletes and served as, quote, digital plantations. And of course, this is just another kooky, crazed, far-left white person, I'm sure. Let's see if we can go down and find a picture of him. Yep, totally unathletic loser, popping off at the mouth about something that he knows nothing about. Guy's probably never touched a football before in his life. Complete idiot. Typical loser. This is typical of your leftist professors who don't know a damned thing. They're the same kind, too, that lead to decisions such as this being made. Over at the Gateway Pundit, we have this. Serial killer who targeted women now being housed in women's prison because they are, quote, transgender. A male serial killer who targeted women, claiming to have killed 9, is now housed in a women's prison after being transgender. Quote, Donna Perry, born Douglas, dead naming, has been transferred to the Washington Correctional Center for Women under new laws that allow gender self-identification. Perry was convicted in 2017 of first-degree murder for the violent slayings of prostitutes Yolanda Sapp, 26, Nikki Lowe, 34, Kathleen Brisbois, 38, in 1990. Though he was only prosecuted for 3 killings, he claims that there were 9 in total. And this, once again, is the lovely future that the left has laid out for us all. This is what they want all of us to bow down to. Over here at the Miami Standard, we find this very disturbing article. Conservative Ezra Levant denied mortgage due to political views. That's right, in this audio recording, you can hear him have a conversation with the bank, and they're very open about it, and they just flat out tell him that your political views are unacceptable, you're a conservative, and we're not going to give you a loan, period. So whereas the woke left spews complete and total falsehoods, such as all that white people need as a currency is their whiteness to get anything, we see actually in reality here that conservatives are constantly under attack. And Ezra Levant, for the record, is a Jewish individual. But I'm sure that the ADL and SPLC will have absolutely nothing to say about this scenario. Over at Zero Hedge, we have this. The coming retirement crisis will affect everyone. This is a very interesting article here that details how there are millions of people right on the verge of retiring. Many of them are going to be taking early retirement so that they can get out of this disastrous workplace space that we all have right now, where everywhere is critically understaffed. And there seems to be millions upon millions of people missing, gone, dead, not working, who knows what. I haven't heard any good answer for where these people actually are. I certainly don't see how they could be sitting around on piles of money that were given out before from the government. All that money dried up a long time ago and most definitely would have been spent by now anyway. So where are they? Your guess is as good as mine. Here at Breitbart, we see an absolutely tragic headline. Abortion is the leading global cause of death in 2021, with 43 million babies chopped into pieces inside the womb by their unloving mothers. This is a complete and total abomination for which the entire planet and all of humanity will be judged. And I move from there to jump back in time to last year, and what do we find also from Breitbart? Abortion, the leading global cause of death in 2020, also with 42.7 million little babies killed. But leftists clearly do not value human life at all. All they value is power and control. Because what do we see over here at Zero Hedge? Chicago, led by Beetlejuice, reports 797 murders for 2021, the most of any U.S. city. And remember that there were 16 U.S. cities that set all-time records for homicides last year, all led by Democrats, of course. What do we see here also? Democrat-run Philadelphia set a new homicide record in 2021. And here we see that the city of brotherly love had 562 homicides. Again, we move over here to see Democrat-run Baltimore with 337 murders, which again was an increase over the year before. What do we see here from the dailyadvent.com? Woke Baltimore mayor's violence reduction strategies backfire as the city sees an annual murder and shooting rate increase, moving up to 337 killings in 2021. There's an important article over at LouRockwell.com called How Marxists Captured the Universities and Will Soon Capture the Nation. And it starts off here. I'll just give you a taste of the article so that you can come and check it out yourself later. Communist and socialist ideas are growing in popularity among the millennial and Gen Z generations. In fact, the majority of young people dislike capitalism. Of course, they don't know or understand what capitalism is because they're lied to about it from leftists, of course. But it says here, in favor of a more socialist or even a communist economic system. This is evidenced by the rise of politicians like AOC and the Squad. And then they ask Doug Casey what his take is on this, and he says the youth are being corrupted, of course, because the youth always are, and is more serious than ever, although I say that a bit tongue-in-cheek, since people have probably thought the youth were becoming degenerate since about day one, and that is a cyclical thing that we always notice as we get older. But I moved down a bit here to where he addresses the matter directly. He says the American university system has been totally captured by cultural Marxists, socialists, statists, collectivists, promoters of identity politics, and people of that ilk. These people hate Western civilization and its values and are actively trying to destroy them. My view is that this challenge is perhaps the most serious we've ever encountered, and the dangers are greatly amplified by advancing technology. And it is absolutely true. When you sit through the courses with these people, as I did for many years, you do see that their hatred is for Western civilization itself. Some of them even seem to hate the whole concept of civilization, period, whether Western or Eastern. And of course, by derivation, they definitely hate the Founding Fathers, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, 1776, they hate America, and they want to destroy all of it. I'll move down here a bit further. He says universities have been totally transformed in many ways over the past century, and it's been for the worst in every instance. When the average 18-year-old goes to college, he knows very little about how the world works in general. That's, of course, because the K-12 education system does a very poor job overall. He didn't say that. Those are my words. He's got vague ideas he picked up mostly from TV, movies, and people who got a job teaching high school. They know basically nothing about economics, government, or history. Worse, what they think they know is mostly wrong. And he goes on from there. I'll leave this link below so you can check it out. Here from Jacob Hornberger from the Future of Freedom Foundation, Max Boot's rant against Oliver Stone. And Boot is, of course, a typical neocon scumbag. It begins here. Max Boot, a conservative who has long favored regime change operations on the part of the U.S. national security establishment, is going after Hollywood producer and director Oliver Stone. His beef with Stone: he's upset because Stone has long maintained that the U.S. national security establishment employed one of its patented regime change operations here at home against President John F. Kennedy. And indeed, Stone is totally correct about that. That is exactly what happened. And of course, Boot doesn't know the substance of any of the relevant arguments related to what happened to JFK or why it mattered. Probably the best overall book written by James Douglas, by the way. But also I'll have this article linked below so that you can check it out for yourself. It's quite extensive, as you can see here. Here from Natural News, we have George Soros teams up with billionaire who bankrolled fake Russian bots in Alabama to launch anti-disinformation media venture. So we have this demonic creature here who ran around with Nazis when he was younger, is going to be telling you what the truth of the matter is, which will all just be from the leftocracy. Here we have another kooky leftist professor. This is of the Daily Mail, Canadian professor says the U.S. will be under a right-wing dictator by 2030, and his country needs to prepare for the collapse of American democracy. Of course, this is a complete, total absurdity. This guy's just another lunatic, and these are the kinds of people who are toxifying the brains of your children. Here from Zero Hedge, we have from Caitlin Johnstone, those who support internet censorship lack psychological maturity. And here she covers some of the cases that have been going on lately with Twitter banning of Dr. Robert Malone and, of course, the Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. So I'll link this article below so you can check it out as well. And finally, I close out here from the Daily Mail, China's plot to take over Latin America. Beijing inks a new deal to share nuclear technology, build 5G networks, develop space programs, and pump cheap loans into America's backyard in a growing threat to the U.S. And we see a handy map down here that shows you all of the different areas in Central and South America where China is now making vast inroads as the United States predictably sleeps. There used to be a thing known as the Monroe Doctrine where the United States would never allow anything like this to take place in its side of the hemisphere, but today we have a president who poops in his pants and doesn't even know what day it is. And you can see the vast change here just over the last 20 or so years. Upcoming, I have a massive episode that I'm going to release over on Rumble, BitChute, and Brighteon, which will cover topics related to COVID-19 and the COVID vaccines. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you.